Okay, so this is our video where we are actually going to get our hands dirty in Orange and do some stuff. So let me actually restart Orange, which I probably should have done before I started the video, but oh well. Okay, so I am starting up Orange. Now, fair warning that Orange is slow to start. At least it is on my machines, and I have 3 of them, so it's slow on all of them. Orange runs like Python and other stuff, so when you start Orange, like it is gonna like just sit there for like a few minutes and you're gonna be like, and you're gonna want to like hit it again and again, but don't do that because then you're gonna start it like 3 times and that's sort of like annoying. So I'm starting Orange. Okay, and it is gonna start, don't worry, it will happen. I'm a little bit impatient, so I always like start it again and then like it doesn't start. It's just weird. So you just kind of sit here and you're like, okay, this is boring, but don't worry. It'll happen. It will. Open sesame. Maybe it won't. I don't know. There we go. Yay! You get this cute little purple, like, little cartoon orange guy on there. Okay. So when you open Orange, it's going to look like this. And you're going to get this little welcome pop up unless you uncheck this, in which case you won't get this anymore. And this is the fresh install of Orange, so I'm intentionally using the same computer I did the how to install Orange because my other version has like all kinds of like new stuff set up, and this is like what you have when you first install Orange. So this is a little welcome screen, and it's basically like the really basic things like start a new workflow, open a workflow, recent workflow, and then these little orange things here. This will link to YouTube videos and various features, kind of like the videos I'm making. I actually watched a lot of those videos over the summer. And then it will also link to various things on the Orange site for help and resources. Orange is kind of like R in that it's extremely well documented. R, by the way, is not from the United States either. It's mostly from like New Zealand, I think, and Australia. Orange is from a country in like Eastern Europe-y kind of area. So be aware that like the way that Orange does certain things is not as like Americanized. So sort of like some of what they call things is not really quite the same, but you'll get used to it. So this is the welcome screen. What we want to do is start a new workflow. So we're going to hit new. And then the welcome screen goes away and it takes us to what you should see when you start Orange, which is basically literally a blank canvas. So this white area here is all a blank canvas. This I can get rid of. So this is all a blank canvas. It literally is called a canvas, not to be confused with Canvas, the LMS. And what these are on the left side, these are widgets. These are our little visual programming tool thingies that come with Orange. And Orange, the base install of Orange, which is why I'm using this computer because it doesn't have any additional stuff. You should have data. Data is a bunch of little widgets that work with data to open data sets, to import CSV data sets, to this one here has some built-in data sets. It does have SQL built in, so you could, I believe, connect directly to a SQL server thingy with your ODBC and be able to use SQL queries and stuff. For most of this course, we're going to use CSV files to import. And so data table lets us view the data set. And there's little, as I hover over these, if you notice, there are little like descriptions. CSV import imports a data table from a CSV formatted file, which is exactly what you would expect it to do. A couple of these I'm not as familiar with. Edit domain will let you monkey around with variable names and stuff. Save data is handy to output your data. Feature stacks is actually a great little feature that we'll take a look at because it does really quick and dirty descriptive stats on your data. So like if you're just doing data mining and you're not like being a statistician and producing like a statistical report, this is fine for like looking at your measures of center and stuff and your distributions. It's great. Color I've never actually played around with, but I believe it lets you set color. It says, I'm reading it because I can read barely, but you know, set color legend for variables, and so you can import. So these are our basic data widgets. Your goal this week is to do this do your first like workflow, but also just to fiddle around. I'm not giving you a whole lot to do the first week because I want you to get up in Orange and basically spend like at least an hour or so just playing with it. Speaking of playing with things, my cat and my dog are chasing each other around the house. Oh well. So data comes with the base install, and then transform is kind of a bunch of data wrangling kind of things. We're not going to use a lot of this. A little bit of the pre-process, but the rest of this we're not going to use in here because we're not really doing like data wrangling kind of stuff. The data that I give you for examples is going to be all set and ready to go. So you're not going to really have to do a lot of that. That's data wrangling class. Visualize has a lot of graphs. Now this is not a data visualization course, and Orange is not like Tableau, what we use in Data Viz or Excel. Orange, the visualizations in Orange is really specifically designed to do data mining. So as a data mining tool, the visuals in Orange are sort of proprietary to data mining task. And so a lot of these are not like all of the kinds of plots you would do in other things, but it does have the basic box plot bar chart, but it's primarily visualization that is used in data mining. Basic visualization. Model we're going to use a lot. This is how we do some of our data mining models, so we're going to do a lot with that one. Evaluate we're going to use a lot as well because this is going to be when we run models how good they are. And then the unsupervised learning and clustering stuff we use. So when you have base Orange, you can literally see that it's a data mining tool because it has all these data mining features. This is kind of like a menu system. I don't know exactly what this is called. You can pull these down and they're basically kind of like these, except they're on like the side, not the top. And they're visual and not words. You can also on the canvas, you can right click, and this is redundant. So if you right click on the canvas and you didn't want to use this, once you kind of get to know these, you can actually work with it this way. I don't, because for whatever reason, I just really don't like this way. I actually just like having them here to like, play with. So that is sort of like that. And then on the top, obviously, there's a menu bar. I think this is called a menu. I don't know. It's very simplistic. It's not like anything crazy like Microsoft Excel. Orange, once you get the hang of it, is simple to use, but you will have a little bit of a learning curve just because it doesn't really look and smell and behave like Excel or R or anything. When you're using Orange, what you're doing is visual programming. Python is running underneath it, and all of these these are all essentially blocks of Python code that are coded and then implemented with these little widget things. So, and there is a little Python. I don't know exactly what this thing does, to tell you the truth, because there is a way to run Python scripts with Orange like directly. And if you so choose to want to do more Python work, you may for this course. However, I don't want anything submitted in terms of Python code. I want everything in terms of like something I can grade without running code. I had enough fun running code in 101, don't worry. So this is like the basis of Orange, and we just have the file menu, edit, view, which is basically just Zoom. It's very simplistic. Window, and then options. Now under options is this add-ins. This links to the Orange site, and kind of like R, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can load into Orange. Most of this we won't work with. A lot of this is like spectroscopy and image analytics and bioinformatics. Orange has been used for, I think, greater than 20 years in sort of the PhD life science research community. It's just now appearing in other things because it is a very easy and friendly to use tool for data mining. Orange is a component-based data mining software. It includes a range of data visualization, exploration, pre-processing, and modeling tools. It can be used through a nice and intuitive user interface or for more advanced users as a module for Python, which is a nice description of it. This current version is, I don't know what version this is. They update this, but they don't update it like R. Like it doesn't like R, like every time I start it, there's like a new version. This is 3.361, I believe, but Orange has been around for I think more than 20 years. So some of these we'll install, a lot of these we won't. It's not like R where we need like a different package like every time. So that is under there, and Orange comes with base packages, but the rest of them are here under options, add-ins. Okay. You can fiddle with settings. I don't know exactly what this does. I personally wouldn't, because then your screen's going to look different than mine. Um, and then there's the help menu. Now, Orange has a great set of help. That's just the about, and that will just give the version. But the actual website itself, if you go under documentation, it's great. So I'm on the Orange website, and I spent a couple weeks this summer doing this, so I was playing with this all the time. There's a couple things in here. One of it brings us to this documentation. And so the documentation is visual. It matches. So like for the file widget, this is the documentation that you can click on it. And it tells you all about the widgets. Now, these are fairly easy to use. I mean, honestly, I didn't really like read a lot of the documentation. I just started like kind of like clicking on things. But it's pretty well documented, and it's a nice website. So if you want to like spend a lot of time, you can look at all the features of this. I mean, I'm surprised more people haven't sort of discovered this, because it's really one of the best tools I've seen. And it's free, so we can't complain, people, right? There are, this is where we downloaded it. There are examples of workflows. We're going to create our workflow today. So there's examples here of different things you can do, and sort of like setups. There's like an informational block that's updated pretty frequently. This was updated 2 or 3 weeks ago. So Orange is not like a dead, it's a very dynamic community and very active. Okay. So let's make our first workflow, shall we? Okay. So once I can figure out how to get out of Op Studio, the Orange website is there for you. They also run like workshops and training, but not usually in this country. Most of the ones I've seen are in other countries. They look like really fun, but I actually did go to Europe, but I haven't been there since I was 8. So yeah, this is the university it comes out of. I can't actually pronounce this. Ljubljana. It's somewhere in like Eastern Europe kind of place. And there's there's communities and stuff like that. So the website is there. It's pretty well documented and easy to use. There was always like the sort of help kind of thing. It is open source, so basically nobody gets paid. That's my dog, like he's scratching on stuff. Moses, sit. Good boy. Oh, he sat like a good boy. Okay. So when we open Orange, that's pretty much the tour of like everything on here. Good stuff. And so let's play with these. Let's go to this data widget section. And data, the first thing you want to do with your canvas is get some data on it. I mean, the blank white canvas is nice, but you can't do anything. So file, I don't use file that much. File will let you import all kinds of things. The one we're going to use the most is CSV, but not today. We're going to use datasets. Datasets has an online repository. Now, I didn't use this for your problem sets because I don't know how like dynamic this is. Somehow stuff gets like fed into here, but I don't know exactly how, and I'm not 100% sure that this is like the same stuff will be here like 3 months from now. So go ahead and do what I just sort of inadvertently did, which is add this widget to your canvas and then double click on it. And you see this, which is really cool. So this is hooked up to all of these data sets. I would like use these for some projects, for some assignments, but like I said, I don't know like if they'll still be here like tomorrow. So let's use though, the Iris data set is usually here. Now I never want you to use the Iris data set for anything that you do, but I'm going to use it. The Iris data set, if you're not already familiar with it, this one's been around for like nearly 100 years. It's a data set on iris flowers, of which there are 3 species. And the thing about the iris data set is like the 3 species of irises, they're like really easy to tell the difference between the groups. So this is often used as a really basic linear discrimination example. Linear discrimination we used in 101 to separate groups. So this data set's like really easy to learn from, but it's not something you should use for a project. So it's like a really simple training data set. So let's go ahead and double click on that. And what that's going to do is load the iris data in. And we can also, we can personalize this widget. So I can right click on it and I can do rename and I can do like load iris data, so that for this, and this, by the way, is going to be called a workflow. So my first step is to load the data on there. But all this does is load the data. Like we can't do anything with this yet. So now what I want to do is go over here and let's click on data table. And if you notice, as I hover over it, I have directions. This is great. It says data table, view the data set. Let's do that. It says in a spreadsheet, I mean, it doesn't open Excel or anything. It has its own little proprietary spreadsheet kind of thing. So now I have this on here, but when I double click on this, you're like, what? It doesn't do anything. So what you have to do, and this is called a workflow. So I have this widget and this widget. So I have load the data, and then I have this data table. So watch. I'm going to connect from here to here. Bam, I created a workflow. Okay. And it says data. Now you can actually click on these too. This one I don't think is going to do, like sometimes there's additional stuff here. There's only the data and then data to data. So we're not going to subset or anything, but you can do data to data and click OK. And then when I click on this, wahoo, I actually have data there. How cool is this? So we can click on this and we can rename this, and let's call this view iris data or iris data. So now we actually like have the data that we can like see and sort of like play with and all that. Visualize numeric values. That will actually do this. This one I think is actually kind of weird, like looking at it with these like, I don't really know what those are doing. Like, I guess you could sort it and stuff with those, but, oh, they're actually coded by, they're already coded by like the different kinds of, like flowers. And these are measurements of the sepals and petals. Now I know what petals are. I'm really not even sure what sepals are, to tell you the truth. I like plants, but I don't know that much about flowers. And so this is the data. Restore original order will unsort it. This is actually super handy. Again, Taylor. Actually, this is the data set we worked with, if Taylor's listening, because we had data in R and it was like sorted and you couldn't unsort it. But when this one, you can click on it and sort and unsort and randomize and stuff. So that's good. Actually, you can't randomize with this, but at least you can unsort it. So this is the iris data. But wait, there's more. Let's also look at it. So let's do this. Let's go down here and let's go to visualize. And let's do a scatter plot or a box plot. Let's do a box plot. What the heck? Let's be adventurous. Let's do a box plot, shall we? Okay. But again, when you click on the widget without like sending it data, you get nothing. Okay. So these guys, if you notice, some of them, this first one, which was the data sets, this one only has a right side thing. Okay. Some of them have left and right. Some of them just have right. Some of them just have left. Right. This is input. This is output. So some widgets you can input stuff, and not output. Other widgets you can output and not input. This is an example of you can output, but there's nothing to input because this is the data set input. Others are terminal and there's nothing you can output with them. Most of them have though input and output. So like this one, you send the data in, but you can also send the data out. So we're going to send the data to the box plot. And then selected data, again, you can click on these, but there's not much to, actually there kind of is. What selected data would mean is if I did this, I'm not going to do that, but I just did. That would be selected data, but I don't want selected data. I want all the data. So that's the difference. Be careful sometimes these connectors, there's actually like what you're sending on them. They're really cool, aren't they? And then box plot. So let's look at the box plot, which I've now connected. So isn't that cool? Now I have, this is a box plot of the sepal length by the species, which I didn't really specify. I just kind of automatically did that. It will also do some basic hypothesis testing. This is actually an analysis of variance. We actually don't want that right now, but we'll do that. And so this right here is the sepal length and the 3 different flower types. You can see there's quite a nice separation with these. The other variables look at our sepal width and petal length. There's a huge separation there, and petal width. Okay, so you can see the different flowers, and selected. See, I only selected a few, and they were all like that one species, so there isn't much there. But you can play with this, and you can do nice box plots. The only thing with this is I don't think you can flip it in the other direction. I don't think so, but it's cool. I don't know what that's doing. Oh, this is just doing iris by iris. That's like a really dumb thing to do. Don't do that. Ooh. So you can play with this. And basically what I want you to do this week is like really play around with this. So you can write, in order to relabel them, it's a little tricky. You have to like click and then right click and then rename. So you do like iris box plot, right? And so you can play around with a few others of these as well. Feature stats is another neat thing. Now what feature stats will do, let's feed into this. Feature stats, you can feed data, by the way, to multiple things. So you will start seeing like these split up ones. So feature stats is basically your like really simplistic, it's your really simplistic statistics. It's, for me, it's like, this is kind of too simplistic. It's kind of like 8th grade-ish for like, you know, professional statistics. But for like when you're doing data mining and you're like looking at your data, this is like a great quick overview kind of thing. So this is like the 4 variables, and these are the distributions, and these are the like means and medians. Overall, they're not grouped by, I believe we can group them, but admittingly they're not grouped here. So you could actually do like the different groups and have them be in different colors. I'm not going to bother doing that, but because my computer battery is going to die. So this is the basic descriptive stats. It does mean, median, mode, measures of center. Dispersion, I think, might be standard deviation. I'm not quite sure. Like I said, this is not English. I mean, these are not United States people, so sometimes the way they do things is a little bit like not exactly how we would. The lowest value, the maximum value, the percentage of missing data, which there's none. But you can see this is a great overview. So that is this feature stats that's just in the data thing. It's a quick and dirty way of looking at things. Saving data. Okay. So saving data, you want to take the data and do saving data. This will export it as a CSV file. And so you click on it, you do save as, and then you can specify like where to save it. And it does the basic non-proprietary types and Excel. I don't know what these compressed GZ ones are. I wouldn't do those because I don't know like what those do. But you can save your data. Now, to save this itself, which is called the workflow, to save your workflow, you go to File and you do Save As. Okay. Notice though that this does save as a .ows, which is an orange file. So my first workflow, like you can't open these unless you have orange. So the workflow itself, and it kind of makes sense, like you have to have orange to open this. There may be a way to open these in Python code, I'm not sure, but you can't open these with other software. So whoever you send these back and forth to, they have to have orange. But save the data will save the data itself, but you won't be able, like the widgets in the workflow won't save just the actual like data set. Which is handy not just for the original data, but when you're doing like results, you can save data sets that way too. But the workflow becomes an OWS. Okay, so what I want you to do is, I'm actually doing this video before I like actually write what's going to be on your like first lab homework assignment, but you're going to submit basically the workflow either as an OWS or as a screenshot. Be sure to be able to do screenshots and post them on Canvas, because most of the way that you're going to submit things is going to be that way. I work on multiple computers and I'm like on and off campus, and I can open Orange on these computers that I work at from home and have videos on, but if I'm doing stuff on campus and grading on like another computer, it's probably not going to have Orange. So it's much more helpful if I grade things by looking at visual outputs, which is a lot of what you're going to do anyways. So that is an overview of Orange, and what I want you to really focus on is I want you to spend at least an hour, probably more like 2 or so, opening Orange, playing with it, and getting familiar with how to do workflow. So do this workflow at least once. Fiddle around a little bit with the data things. Don't bother with the transform ones. You're not going to need those. Some of the graphs you might want to play with to visualize. So for now, really just the basic data and the visualize, and then we'll do some other stuff. These we're not going to get into just yet, but we'll get into them soon. So get really familiar with how to basically run Orange, how to work with the widgets. Renaming them is nice. I'm not going to make you rename and make them like perfectly documented. You can also like put comments on here and stuff. Admittingly, I'm kind of like a lazy person, and I don't really document things as well as I probably should, because I'm not a computer programmer. I'm an analyst. If I were a computer programmer, I'd document things better. And it's not really programming. So, but you can, I mean, you can write comments on these and annotate them a little bit. But get familiar with the workflow. So you always start with uploading some kind of data. often you'll look at it. You can also subset and select and randomize and select training and test data and stuff like that. And you can do a couple different plots. Some of these plots you're not going to have any idea, like silhouette plot, you don't know what that is yet. But play around with some scatter plots maybe. So have some fun and play around with Orange for at least an hour or so this week to get familiar with it before next week when we start doing some serious work in Orange. All right, thanks.